Hey everybody, it's so good to be here with you. Welcome to the inaugural episode of Inside Live with Alice and Freebo. I'm Alice,
And I'm Freebo.
in case you couldn't figure that out.
Hey, it's great to be here, everybody. And we want to thank Norman's Rare Guitars, right,
Yes,
for putting this on his YouTube channel and for being so supportive to us
we
over
love you,
as well.
Norm,
We
and
sure do.
thank you to
Thank you.
Jen for being behind the scenes today, helping out. It's been an idea of ours for quite a while now, ever since the quarantine began, to have a show where every week we could have a special guest, one of our friends, somebody we admire and respect, and we're so happy to have Laurence Juber here today. He's going to be coming in just a few minutes.
Yeah, Laurence is amazing, as a lot of you know, and I feel fortunate to have known Laurence on a personal level for a long time. So we hope by the end of this broadcast, so many of you know whose music will know him personally just a little bit more, as well as Alice and myself. And that's kind of what this is about. We're going to share our music with you and other people's music, but we want to share ourselves as well. And you're, of course, free to share yourselves on the chat room and share with each other and share with us.
Yeah, let us know what you think, and definitely put your comment in the chat. We're on YouTube and Facebook right now, so happy to have all of you with us. And we're going to start out with a song, I
Well,
think.
let me tell them just a little bit about
Oh,
you. You
right.
might not
You might not
know.
know who we are. Who are
Well,
these people?
you might not know who Alice Howe is, but no, I met Alice at a folk conference a little over 3 years ago, and I thought, who is this person and what does she do? And I bit by bit got to hear her music and her beautiful voice, and heard her first EP, which actually made it to #1 on folk radio, one of the songs, which you'll hear later on.
Yeah.
But I was really enchanted with her voice, and I invited her out to California because I wanted to produce some songs, and we wound up working together on a record. We're working on another record. We've done a lot of shows together, and I think you'll find that she's got one of the most beautiful voices in the world. And I say
Thank
that
you, Freebo.
you're welcome, but I say that having had the privilege of work with many great singers.
Yeah, and just to turn that back around, when I met Freebo, I thought at first, who was this guy with this weird name? And it was written on his name tag. And then I eventually got to talking to him, went home and turned over my mom's Bonnie Raitt records, and sure enough, there he is on the back with a huge, magnificent fro. And if you guys are familiar with Bonnie's first 7 or 8 records, Freebo's played on all of them, and they toured the world together for 10 years. He's also played with Maria Muldaur, John Mayall and the Blues Breakers, Ringo Starr, just to name a few. And it's been a real pleasure working together the last few years. We've gotten to tour a lot together. We've recorded my first record, Visions, and yeah, now we've transitioned into quarantine lifestyle of trying to figure out a way to share our songs with you. So thank you for being here with us.
So what are you going to share, Alice?
I would like to play a song from the record that we worked on together. This is one of my tunes we wrote together. This was actually our first co-write, and it's called Twilight. I know a dirt road in the late afternoon where the shade and the sunlight gather in pools. There are trees to the right, twisted and wild. To my left is the sea, like a glimmering eye. Well, I'm not the first one, and I won't be the last, who's come to this crossroads and breezed on past, with my destination my only concern, one foot on the gas as the yellow light turns. And there's nothing like being alone at twilight, the ocean and I each approaching high tide, held aloft on the waves of my pride. I'm better off walking alone at twilight. the end of the road on the threshold of night. And there's nothing like being alone at twilight. The ocean and I each approaching high tide, held aloft on the waves of my pride. I'm better off walking alone at twilight. Well, the sun's gone down and the twilight is past. That magic hour, it never lasts. It's a long strand of pearls, one that I'll never own. And the answers I seek are the smallest of stones. So I work till I'm tired, then I lay down to rest. And that takes just a bit of this weight off my chest. But the years stretch before me, I admit that it's true. This restless pursuit is what I'm called to do. And there's nothing like being alone at twilight. The ocean and I each approaching high tide, held aloft on the waves of my pride. I'm better off walking alone at twilight. My lover is steady, and he tells me be still and take a deep breath. He's hoping I will, but my mind keeps on racing till I'm far out of sight, at the end of the road on the threshold of night. And there's nothing like being alone at twilight. The ocean and I each approaching high tide, held aloft on the waves of my pride. I'm better off walking alone. Yeah, I hate to leave being alone at twilight. Thanks, everybody. Looks like they're digging the fretless bass, Freebo.
Oh, good, good. Can they hear it okay? Is it good volume?
Yeah, I think
Should I turn
so.
it up or down?
That might open up a can of worms.
Uh-oh.
So, Freebo, who's our guest today? Let's bring him in.
We should, yeah. Laurence Juber, everybody. And some of you might know of Laurence from his stint with Paul McCartney, the original guitar player in Wings, Paul's first band when the Beatles broke up. And Laurence has since gone on to an incredible solo career with a whole bunch of solo records. He does a great solo show. If you've never seen it, it's really fantastic. And he's an arranger. Tell us a little bit more about him.
Laurence Juber, or LJ as he is known to his fans, is multiple Grammy award-winning guitarist, arranger, and composer. You can hear his beautiful playing on hundreds of movies and TV shows that we all know, including one of my favorites, Dirty Dancing. I'm a huge fan. I just read that, Laurence, today. I did not know. La- Laurence has released 25 solo albums. His record LJ Plays the Beatles was voted one of Acoustic Guitar Magazine's all-time top 10 albums. He is a world-class guitar virtuoso, and we are so excited to have him here with us today.
You gonna bring him in there, Alice?
Here he
There he
is.
is. Hey.
Hey, Laurence.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too. How are you on this Wednesday evening?
I'm pretty good. Just finished
Good.
walking the dogs.
Just pretty good?
So, yeah, no,
How are the
especially
dogs?
being here with you. It's how cool is that? The dogs are fine, productive.
Good. Thank you for being our guinea pig, as it were, today. You've been very kind to agree to be our very first guest on this show.
Happy to do so. Yeah,
Would you be so kind as to start us off with a song?
you bet. This is
All
a
right.
tune of mine called Cobalt Blue.
Yeah.
Yeah,
sorry
about
Beautiful.
little distortion there.
It sounded kind of rock and roll.
It does. Hey man, that's my fault. I told you to turn it up a little bit.
It's our fault.
But maybe you split the difference. But it did sound pretty rock and roll. It's kind of cool.
Freebo and I are trying to be sound man and interviewer and musician, and we may have we may have led you astray, Laurence. It's our apologies.
So Laurence, can we ask you a couple?
I've tweaked it down a bit.
It sounded as though you tweaked it on the fly, which is
You did.
Well, I
Amazing.
moved back.
he's a pro.
Nature's
He knows how to
volume-
work the mic.
Nature's volume control. Yeah.
That's right.
So Laurence, can we ask you a couple questions?
Sure.
I mean, the first question I'd like to ask you, obviously, a lot of people know you've played with Paul, and I'm sure that you get that question a million times. But you know, being a musician myself and having gotten that call a couple times, it's an interesting, almost an out of body experience when it happens. So I know that that you work with George Martin, you were doing some things. I was wondering, did Did George give you the call? Did you, I mean, this is before texts and emails. Did Paul call you? I mean, could you share with us and with your audience and just how that happened?
Well, I started doing studio work right out of college. So this would have been like 1975. And one of the first projects I worked on was an album for Cleo Lane, great British jazz singer, that was being produced by George Martin.
I see.
And a friend of mine, I played in the National Youth Jazz Orchestra, and the bass player, Paul Hart, was also Cleo Lane's piano player. He was a very versatile musician. And he recommended me for this album. So I got called in, and, George Martin's the producer. It's my, really my first kind of big album project.
Yeah.
And I was pretty green, I mean, I was,
How old were you?
23, 24,
Well,
something like that. Let me think, 70, about 24, I think. And, but that really had no direct bearing on working with Paul. That didn't come about till later, when I established myself as a studio musician in London, and I was working in the house band on a TV show with David Essex, who was a big pop star at the time. And Denny Lane was a guest on the show, and Denny was, a member of Wings. And he liked my playing. We did Go Now, the old Moody Blues hit. We did Go Now, and he recommended me to Paul. So, but it didn't, those like 6 months went by before I actually got the call. And ironically, I was working at Abbey Road. I was in Studio 2 when I got the call to go do the audition.
I read in your bio that it was on Wikipedia, I believe it was a quote saying that's not a job you pass up.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's an exact quote. Maybe a Wikipedia quote.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I had to think about it, because I'd really worked hard as a teenager. My entire career arc was to establish myself as a studio player. I really wasn't doing much live work at all. And so when Paul says, what are you doing the next few years? There was that nanosecond of, what am I giving up? And then, but I couldn't say no.
Right.
But when the call came, was it Paul calling, and was that
No.
the first time you had talked with him? I mean,
No, I had met him. My first McCartney experience was in August of '77. I was on a meditation retreat with Mike McCartney. And I distinctly remember, Mike walked into the room waving a newspaper declaring that Elvis had died. So I learned about Elvis's death from Mike McCartney.
wow.
And then I was at Air Studios, and I was early for a session, and Paul and Linda and Denny were working there, and they were running late, and they invited me in. And that was the first time. It wasn't actually the very first time I met Paul. I was on a session, Herbie Flowers, great English bass player. I was on a session with him, and we went on our union break and went to the men's room and walked in the door, and there's Paul McCartney zipping up his fly. A very inauspicious meeting.
Perfect.
And
So you met Paul on the fly, huh?
as it were, yes. So that was kind of like, there were a couple of meetings, but it wasn't until about 6 months later that I actually got the call.
Freebo and I were talking about, one thing I've noticed in my work with you is like everyone wants to know about like that ancient history kind of, or ancient, in terms of your life as a musician. It was like just the beginning of such a long career. You've released so many records on your own. I'm just wondering kind of how you made that transition to being a solo artist, and how you look to establish yourself as a solo artist and a recording artist on your own, and what that was like.
Well, I really didn't go back into, when Wings folded, I moved to New York and then met Hope, who became my wife, and moved to LA, and went back into studio work because we started raising a family and I didn't want to travel. And I'd really been kind of established myself as a studio musician here in LA. And then I was doing Folk Scene, with Roz and Howard on
Oh, yeah.
KPFK
Yeah.
Yep.
with
Done
James
that.
Lee Stanley. And James Lee
Uh-huh.
and I had been writing some songs together over a few years. And I'm sitting there with James at Folk Scene. And he says, "Oh, by the way, do you want to do an album for my record label?" Which was this was 1990. And I had, I'd spent the last decade kind of compiling a catalog of compositions. And I said, "Yeah, you bet." So that was really the beginning of it. And it really ran as a parallel track with my studio career. So I started off doing some gigs and clinics and stuff, and then it just kind of evolved. I'm actually up to 30 albums now.
Oh,
wow.
my goodness.
Amazing.
I think I lost count.
You got to
That-
update
that-
your website.
Yeah, probably so. Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Very cool. Well, Freebo, you've got a song that kind of speaks to, I don't know, becoming who you are meant to be, I would say.
Yeah, well, I can relate to your story somewhat. I mean, I was a studio musician. I was also a road musician, but and they really are different. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
there are cats who are really good in the
Cats.
studio and have a hard time letting loose, on stage live. And then there are other people who are live and they can't bring it down to where it's contained enough where you're not blowing the meters, and losing yourself.
That was so hard for me when I first began working with you in the studio. Hadn't ever really worked with a producer before and felt like you're just so under the microscope in the studio, and all the stuff that I was a little loosey-goosey about with my guitar playing, it's like you got to get it right.
Well, it's tricky, as you well know, because it's like you want to get it right, but if it's too much about getting it right, then it's very stiff. So how do you get it right? How do you get it precise? How do you not be too soft, too loud at the same time? How do you get some oomph into it, some life, and not be afraid to make a mistake, right?
Yeah, it's tricky, but for me, when I started, I really, as a teenager, I would listen to the radio and pick out the parts and just see what the guitar was doing, what the bass was doing, how the bass and the kick drum fit together. I'm sure you did the same thing in terms
Absolutely.
of understanding how it all worked. And I think that as time went on, having the experience of doing some live performance, especially after Wings, when I'd really got a taste of what it was like being on stage. I think being able to take that kind of arranger sensibility as to how the instrument fits into the context of the song, but also inject that with that live kind of energy where you're not thinking about what you're playing, you're thinking about communicating with the audience.
Right.
And so having this sense that there are virtual listeners out there.
Which, certainly applies to this time.
Oh, hey,
Also.
yes. We are totally in a virtual world.
Acting like
yeah.
there's, one person right there instead of, pretending that you're alone, because you're
Yeah.
not.
No, it's true.
No, you're not.
Well, and my journey, because I defined myself as a bass player. I mean, I played guitar first. I learned guitar. I mean, my first instrument was piano, really, and then tuba, and then guitar.
I love your tuba playing.
Oh, my
thank you.
God.
Thank you. I might have to bring it out in one of these shows, but for me, it was, and like you say, listening to all the parts. I've always been. I think the reason I'm considered a fairly decent bass player is not because I have great chops, but because I'm aware of what the role of the bass is, what the other instruments are playing. So it really is a part, but it weaves everything together, and I love that. But in doing so, I was always aware of the other parts, and I always had ideas for what the other players should play. But as the bass player, it's like, shut up and play your bass.
Yeah.
So that kind of drove me into, well, I have all these ideas and I need to express them. And that drove me into, well, the person in the band who kind of has the control, who gets to express the ideas, is the singer and the songwriter. And I had never written a song. And so in my mid-40s, I went, I got to start writing songs. And in that moment, and I'm sure a lot of the listeners can relate to this, it's when you have an epiphany and it's like, there's something that I really need to do. And you've never done it before. and so you're filled with the fear and the trepidation, but
Like
also
when we started this show for you.
kind of like when we started the show. And so I want to share this song, and I wish you could play on it. We were hoping to be
know.
in the same studio. The logistics didn't quite work out, but
Yeah.
at some point I'd love for you to play on this.
You
But
bet.
meanwhile, I'm going to get Alice to play bass on it.
I'm going to
as
play
well.
some bass.
I taught
All
her a
right.
couple things.
Here we go.
The song's called "If Not Now, When." Let me get my guitar. Give Alice
Okay.
the bass.
Ah,
There you go.
guess I don't need these anymore. Every minute is rehearsed,
That
folks.
is- by the way, folks out there, this is my 1964 Martin D28, and I'm sure you can see Tommy Emmanuel's signature on there. I saw Tommy play, and I'm sure, Laurence, you are a big fan of Tommy. Who isn't? But I was so impressed, I said, I got to have him sign this thing.
What
So
about your bass, Freebo? Tell them about your bass.
the bass is it's a Music Man bass. I'm sponsored by Music Man. I love Music Man. And this was given to me by my good friend Sterling Ball, who the son of Ernie Ball, obviously a rock legend. And I've been playing Music Man basses since 1974, 75, along with my Fender, but now I'm doing exclusively Music Man. It's a 5-string fretless. It's a second generation. So I think this is probably 88 or 89, something like that. So
Cool.
I taught Alice how to play a couple
few
things. and
songs.
She doesn't even know how to play 4-string with frets, but she's
Such a freak.
learning how to get around this thing. Anyway, here we go. If not now, when? Ready?
Yep.
When I was a young boy, I had these dreams. The time didn't matter, or so it seemed. Now I'm still a dreamer, like I was back then. But time keeps screaming, if not now, when?
Hundreds of heartaches
And broken down plans,
so many what ifs.
and what if I can't? My fear held me captive, caged in a pen. It's time to break free, boy. If not now, when? If not now, when? If not me, who? I can't pretend. Oh no, 'cause I know it's true. I'll make this vow, I swear, amen. My time is now. If not now, when? Doubting and blaming, it's time to let them go. 'Cause this healing journey, it can go so slow. But I hear these voices again and again. They keep on calling. If not now, when? If not now, when? If not me, who? I can't pretend. Oh no, 'cause I know it's true. I'll make this vow, I swear, amen. My time is now. It's not now, when? Okay, a little surprise for you. Sing it, Alice.
Well, I pulled out of Pittsburgh, rolling down that eastern seaboard. Got my diesel wound up, and she's running like never before.
Dave Dudley.
Got a speed zone ahead, alright, but I don't see a cop in sight. 6 days on the road. have a lot of lovers, but I don't need no other guy. I could find one to hold me tight, but I could never make believe it's alright. 6 days on the road and I'm gonna make it home tonight. Got my 10 forward gears and my sweet Georgia overdrive.
Sweet Georgia.
Taking little white pills and my eyes are open wide.
Sing it.
I just passed a Jimmy and White. I've been passing everything in sight. 6 days on the road and I'm gonna make it home tonight. Tell him, Freebo.
Well, my rig's a little old, but that don't mean she's slow. I got a flame from a stack and my smoke's blowing black as coal. Well, my hometown's coming in sight. If you think I'm happy, you're right. 6 days on the road and I'm gonna make it home tonight. Okay, back to the tune. It's time to take this leap of faith without a net. Hello to destiny and goodbye regret. If not now, when? If not me, who? I can't pretend. Oh no, 'cause I know it's true. I make this vow. I swear, amen. My time is now. If not now, when? I make this vow. I swear, amen. My time is now. Oh, whoa, if not now, when? If not now, when? If not now, when? So there. All right, put this down. Put
since
my
we're-
earphone back in.
We're going in the round, or should we,
Well,
you want to put him back in?
Yeah. So I want to tell them a little bit, if I could, Alice. I want to tell them a little bit about some of the people who are helping us out in this.
Oh,
thing
oh,
here.
okay. Yeah. Let's show a little graphic here.
Oh, very nice.
Our sponsors for
Yeah.
today.
Alice is our director here.
Trying.
Yeah, so like we said earlier, we're very grateful to Nora's Rare Guitars and Jen, all the people who work there who've been very supportive. From the first time that I walked in there, Norm said, "Hey, would you like to play a song?" And I was thrilled at that. And when I first brought Alice in, they said, I introduced and said, "Hey, blew a song, Alice." And how many views did that first
I
one
think
get?
we
Alice?
did Too Long at the Fair, and Freebo had just said, "Hey, let's just do a quick song at Norm's." I had no idea what that meant, and then like 4 hours later, there were 60,000 views, and I was like, "Man, I would have changed my shirt had I known."
No, it's pretty cool. So we're really grateful for Norm and Jen, all the people who work there and support you've given us and broadcasting this on the on the YouTube channel and all y'all out there who are enjoying it. But we also want to talk about another sponsor who's really helping us out. The people over at Rock Cellar Magazine, and it's a very cool magazine. It's an online music magazine, and it comes once a day into your email feed, into your inbox. And what's really good about it is that it's free. And so if you just go to rockcellarmagazine.com for free,
subscribe.
you will get, it will come into your inbox. If you don't like it, boom, you can always delete it. It costs you nothing. And it's really cool because it's essentially a music magazine. I know they did an article on you, Alice, right?
Yep, they did a really
while
nice
ago.
review of my record when it came out last year. And yeah, we've got some great friends over there. So definitely check it out.
I'm guessing that Laurence had done some stuff, and also some news of the day, but it's really cool stuff.
Yeah.
I also want to thank my friends at Fishman. I'm playing out of, you can't see it, but I'm actually playing out of a Fishman Loudbox amplifier, and it's really guitar amp.
Technically an acoustic guitar amp.
It is an acoustic guitar amp,
Yeah.
but it works great. I mean, especially for what I'm doing at acoustic guitar level. It works great for bass or anything. And what's really neat about it, I mean, it's got all sorts of effects in it. It's got 2 channels, including you put a microphone. So you can do a gig on this as a singer-songwriter. But it's got an XLR out the back. So I can just use this as a monitor and have a big-ass bass sound coming out of the PA system. So I can actually take this anywhere and do a gig on bass or guitar or vocal. It's really cool. So I want to thank Chris at Fishman for helping us out with that. And also the microphone people, we're not using them now, but we will. We got
Hopefully next week
yeah,
we'll
real-
have them.
very nice shout out from
From
the
Audio Technica.
Technica people.
Yeah.
We're really grateful for that.
Yeah. Should we bring Laurence in to just... Where is he?
Hey,
Hi, Laurence.
Laurence, you got anybody you want to plug here? Any of the stuff that you do? I mean, obviously you got a beautiful signature Martin guitar there.
It's actually...
Well,
Oh, I gotta put these on.
yeah, we have
you
twins.
do, yeah.
Yeah. This is a more recent version of my signature guitar with Martin, and I guess various dealers around the
Yeah.
country, including Dusty Strings, which was a home base for Alice, had done quite well with them over the years, and I think they kind of ordered.
Yes,
some in
they
the same,
spec'd my... I'm sure
same
they
kind
were
of
inspired by
specs.
yours.
Yeah.
Mine was a custom shop model that one of my coworkers at Dusty Strings picked out, and little did I know until I was at a workshop with you, Laurence, at Far West, actually, and I was like, oh my God, he's playing my guitar. I was like...
No, you're playing his.
Yeah. Yeah, I had, I mean, back in the 90s, I was playing Taylor, mostly because they were the only one that had a cutaway that had a wide enough neck that I could feel comfortable, because I need like a 1 3/4 inch neck. And then I kind of migrated from Taylor to Collings.
Beautiful guitars.
And then I thought, well, wait a minute, I'm playing what is basically a Martin style model. So I called up Dick Boak at Martin and I said, I want to order a custom shop guitar. And it turned out it was like an OM18 with Adirondack spruce and mahogany. And the first time I used it was at a show at Norm's Rare Guitars,
Oh,
where Dave Edmonds and I did a co-bill.
Wow.
And the next day I got a call from Martin saying, would you want to do it as a signature model?
Oh, that's beautiful.
Cool.
Yeah, Dick's a beautiful guy.
beautiful.
Just retired a year or two ago, right?
Yeah, he did. I played at his retirement concert.
oh,
Wow.
so cool.
Along with John Mayer and Steve Miller, and that was
boy.
a fun night.
Wow,
I'll
so
bet that
cool.
was.
Lawrence, somebody in the chat asked how many guitars you own.
Too
You've
many.
got, okay. You've got a lineup back there.
I do. As a studio player, you need a lot of different kinds of sounds. So,
Right.
it's not just having a Les Paul and a Strat. I mean, it's a Rickenbacker 12-string or whatever. And on the acoustic side, there's nylon string and 12-string, and, it's just I've accumulated them over the years.
Yeah.
But that particular run over there is mostly acoustics.
Yeah.
And they all get used one way or another.
Oh, of course they do.
Well, and that's what's
Yeah.
nice about it. I mean, every instrument I have, I play, and no disparagement to the guitar collectors out there, because we all know how that's how Norm pays his rent.
Don't stop.
No, don't stop.
The world
but-
needs you.
No, the nice thing about getting a good guitar, it's an incredible investment. I know I'm preaching to the choir, but I mean, the fact is, it continues
Yeah.
to grow in value.
Well, and
but
it gets better I mean, I've only had mine for maybe 3 years, and it sounds better all the time.
It sounds better and better, and yet, unlike money, it's something you can actually play with and create
Yeah.
something with. It's so yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
it's beautiful
guitars
stuff.
are, you know, you get the right guitar, that's a lifetime instrument.
It really
because, You
is.
know, I mean, I've got an 1893 Martin.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
and it's like, you know, in that
The
time
granddaddy.
frame, I mean, it's, you know, it's really
Does it sound good? I mean, what
sounds
is it?
great. Oh yeah, I used it. I did a Facebook Live earlier today, and I used it for that.
Oh, I saw that you were
Wow.
playing it.
yeah,
Cool.
Yeah, it's great. Not a guitar I would travel with, and of
Right.
course,
No,
you know,
of
it's
course not.
12 frets to the body, so you know, there's none of the upper fret access that you know, I'm used to with this.
Just
Yeah.
out of curiosity, what kind of strings do you use generally? I mean, I'm sure
I have a
they vary,
signature
but-
string with Martin in their retro series, which is Monel. It's a different alloy. It's a copper, nickel, and iron alloy. You look at it and you think it looks like an electric guitar string, but it isn't. And it's what they used to use in I guess, the 20s and 30s, was that kind of string. And it's a stronger fundamental than you get with phosphor bronze. It doesn't have quite as much of that kind of fizzy high end. And they last longer for me. So
Does it have a little bit of the flat wound feel to
no,
it, or
no, it's still a round wound string.
how do you stop the squeaking, or don't you?
Oh, I squeak. The secret I find is just to
What
make
is the
the
secret?
amount of sound louder than the actual squeaks. So, you know, and my goal is always to kind of maximize volume.
So you don't
I-
want to be too gentle with the instrument, is what you're
No,
saying?
I don't use fingernails when I play. And I'm really, you know, I'm plucking the string, and I'm really trying to get the top moving and getting, you know, really getting as much mojo as I can out of
And
it.
is it an Adirondack top?
This one is high alpine Swiss spruce.
Okay.
This is what they call moon spruce,
Oh.
cut on the waning moon.
Oh my goodness.
It's part of that, you know, voodoo.
Yeah. Well, that's mine is called Engelmann spruce.
Yeah, that's
is
Engel.
that
Well, Engelmann is similar,
okay?
but this is, you know, for electric guitar players, Adirondack is kind of like playing through a great Fender amp, and the European spruce is more like playing through like a Marshall. It's just a different harmonic content. And
Wow.
Engelmann is kind
I
of
love
in
that.
the middle, I think. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Cool.
Wow. Hey, want to do another tune for us so you
Sure.
can see what you do?
Yeah.
You bet. Tune from the 30s, All of Me.
Sorry. Here we are.
Here we are.
Hello. Wow.
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 Yeah,
I don't want to follow that.
that's from
Can you play-
1931.
Beautiful.
No, it's a beautiful song.
Oh,
Can you play any faster than that, Lauren?
Yeah, but but you know that's double scale.
that was
Hey, that's Chet Atkins style. Is pretty much where that comes from, right?
Well, you know, it's funny because I never really listened to Chet. For me, it was Merle Travis that I kind of got the idea from. But you know that Kentucky thumb picking style, you know, with the where you've got that alternate bass, you know, and it's got that kind of trotting, kind of like a horse trotting. You know, it's very much Kentucky things from Muhlenberg County in Kentucky, and it actually has its roots in there was a miner, a guitar player, violinist named Arnold Schultz, who was the first one. He sounded like he should have had a deli on the Lower East Side. It's actually a black coal
I was
miner.
going to say,
Oh my gosh! Wow.
Daddy,
then-
won't you take me back to Muhlenberg County?
Yeah, he influenced Kennedy Jones, who was the first one to use a thumb pick on that. And since then, they've all used. I don't use a thumb pick, but that's kind of part of that style. And then the next generation was like Ike Everly, the Everly brothers' dad, and Mose Rager, and then from there to Merle Travis and Chet Atkins.
Oh wow!
And then, you know, in modern, you know, the modern exponents are like Tommy Emmanuel and Doyle Dykes is wonderful at that stuff too.
Cool.
It's not really kind of, my roots are more in the English folk baroque, more of the kind of Bert Jansch, John Remborn, that end of the spectrum.
Wow.
Well, I think when it all comes down to it, you know, we're all pretty much hybrids. You know,
Yeah.
a little bit
Yeah,
of this, a little bit of
exactly.
that, and before you know it, you join them all together, and it becomes
Something
you
else.
end up with your own style.
yeah,
Yeah.
And it's interesting how it becomes distinctive too. I mean, it never ceases to amaze me, and Alice and I have talked about this, whether it be in the folk world, the blues world, the jazz world. You give any one of 1,000 people the same guitar, and each one will make it sound different.
All comes out
You know,
different.
it just
It
sounds
amazes
different.
me watching other guitar players, how they make chord shapes and how they'll finger things. And it's like, what chord is that? Oh, it's a G7. But, like, I'd never play it like that. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Cool. Well, I hate to follow Lawrence's picking, but I'm going to do some picking.
Oh, you'll be great.
It's just a little different style. It comes out different, right? Okay, here we go. Let's see.
What you gonna do, Alice?
I am going to do a song of mine that was on my first record. The song is called Homeland Blues, and I had the idea to write it. I had read a memoir of an author who traces the history of his family, where they originated in Eastern Europe and then where they kind of ended up all over the world. And he's trying to figure out who he is and kind of where he comes from and answer this question of like why his family is the way he is. And I had the idea that you could be homesick for a place that you'd never been to and kind of long to know yourself through that knowledge of the past. So I call that the Homeland Blues. This is the one that was #1 on folk radio, for those of you who are interested in knowing that.
#1 on folk radio. That means it.
That means I'm a millionaire now.
Hey.
But if you do want to send a tip, even though I am a millionaire, you can send tips for Freebo and Laurence. You can send that to my Venmo or PayPal. If you guys are enjoying the show, we'd really appreciate that. We're going to split everything 3 ways, and helps us, you know, pay our expenses and keep us alive. So thank you.
So we can do this.
Every night I've the strangest dream. All these ghosts are talking to me, laid down in my bed, and I can hardly sleep. These homeland blues have got a hold of me. Well, I went over to my cousin's house to see if we couldn't figure it out. see you got them homeland blues. Well, what hope have I got if what you're saying is true? And I got them homeland blues. Don't you know I got them homeland blues? Said I got them homeland blues. Try to tell you I got them homeland blues. The sooner I book my ticket, the sooner I'll come running back to you. I asked my mother, do you know what I mean? She could hardly look up at me, had her eyes to her paper, and I knew she had them too. Had her eyes on her coffee, and I knew she had them too. Have you ever missed something that you never even had? You're down so low and you feel so bad. That's when you know you got them homeland blues. And that's when you know that you got them homeland blues. And I got them homeland blues. Don't you know I got them homeland blues? Said I got them homeland blues. Try to tell you I got them homeland blues. The sooner I book my ticket, the sooner I'll come running back to you. A cab, all distracted by the night we had. I sat down on the curb, nursing my homeland blues. I'm half out in the street and I'm nursing my homeland blues. Well, my American soul gets lonely sometimes. Take a walk and it clears my mind, and I'll hold you tight to shake my homeland. Tight just to shake my homeland blues. And I got them homeland blues. Don't you know I got them homeland blues? Said I got them homeland blues. Honey, pull over, I got them homeland blues. The sooner I book my ticket, the sooner I'll come running back to you. If home is where I left it, the sooner I'll come running back to you. That's the song.
Nice.
Do you want to play one, Freebo, while we're here in this setup?
While we're in singer-songwriter mode here, we do a song that you mentioned. You mentioned James Lee Stanley a little while ago. James Lee has a little part in this song, along with another good buddy of mine, Severn Brown. You might have heard of Severin's brother Jackson. Sorry, just a little bit of name dropping there, but a little help from David Roth. But this is a song about really about perspective. You know, these are difficult times. There's a lot of division in the world, and particularly in this country. And you know, I'm not going to get into the politics, but I'm a man of peace. And I think it's interesting when you look from far away, we're all the same. You know, we all have the same feelings and the same emotions, and I know we all want the best for this country. So this is a song of peace and about perspective, and kind of looking at the earth from outer space and going, and then getting just a little bit closer. The song is called To the Light. I've heard it said, the earth looks peaceful when it's seen from outer space. Such a pretty place for you and me. How do we hear the wisdom of the crickets in the night, singing out of sight from way down here, where there's only right or wrong. Why can't we just try to get along? I've heard it said, there's 100 billion galaxies of light, lighting up the night for you and me. We could be just as peaceful as the earth from outer space, living in a place of harmony. Oh, such a lovely song. Why do we put one another down? Just consider that there is no wrong or right, and consider that there is no black or white. There are always shades of gray to help us find our way to the light.
To the light.
To the light. I've heard it said, every culture has a history in stone, dances of their own they like to do. Wouldn't you like to be accepted just the way you are? Is that really hard to see? Couldn't we find a way to understand and blow away that line in the sand? Just consider that there is no wrong or right, and consider that there is no black or white. There are always shades of gray to help us find our way to the light.
To the light.
To the light. Dee dee dee.
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 Dee dee dee. There are always shades of gray to help us find our way to the light.
To the light.
To the light. To the light.
To the light.
To the light. I've heard it said, the earth looks peaceful when it's seen from outer space. Such a pretty place for you and me. For you and me.
For you and me.
For you and me.
For you and me.
For you and me. for you and me. To the Light.
Hey, Laurence.
Hey,
Freebo,
what a
someone
cool
was
song.
asking what the title of that song was. Tell them again.
Okay, let me put this on here.
I'll tell you. That song is called To the Light, and that is a song by Freebo. And you can find all of his records and mine, and I'm sure Lawrence's too, on all the streaming platforms that you might use, or you can buy each of our records. From mine are on CD Baby and on my website. Laurence, I'm sure yours are available somewhere. Tell us where.
Yeah, my website.
LawrenceJuber.com.
I have an
Somewhere.
online store.
Yes.
And yeah, and Amazon carries my stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, and then there's the streaming kind of ecosystem.
There is.
How that, you know, and that actually has its place.
It does.
Instead of its place,
You know, on Pandora, my Christmas music seems to get a lot.
Oh,
of
good. Yeah.
It's too bad we only get, what, is it 1/100th of
Yeah.
a cent, or is it 1,000th of a cent per play? What is it, Lawrence? You remember?
0.000.
So-
Yeah. But you get enough streams, and you can actually buy.
but so you know,
coffee
folks
with it,
can find us on there and follow us on social media is helpful for us too. So it's a good way to keep in touch. But Laurence, you got another song for us?
Yeah, I was
wow.
thinking
Oh,
of
all
another
right.
Jimi Hendrix actually.
Great.
Oh, man, I wish I
Little-
could
Little
play bass on
Wing.
this with you.
Oh man,
Nice.
Lawrence,
Thank you. Thank you.
gorgeous. Wow, so beautiful.
I was kind of playing along with you.
He was. I took a little video of you just.
Well,
boom,
it's
boom,
one of
boom.
those tunes. I mean, it's amazing what Jimmy did with just a few chords and just create this
Yeah.
vibe that, it's like a whole kind of universe of that you
Oh
can
my
get
Yeah,
into.
gosh.
I mean, my favorite thing, obviously he does some incredible stuff, but the fact that he was so schooled in R&B, all those Curtis Mayfield licks,
Oh, yeah.
that he does those double stops.
Yeah, all
Yeah,
that
it's just,
stuff.
I mean, it's just really basic stuff, but I mean, he was schooled in R&B, he was schooled in all the root stuff. So a lot of shredders today kind of start with the shredding, they don't realize
they don't have
it
that.
all came from rhythm, is what it
Yeah,
came
yeah.
from.
Well, and then going back to talking about being a studio musician, I mean, for a guitar player, 90% of it is rhythm guitar.
Yeah,
You have to really be able to just lock into the groove. In
Right.
Nashville, the acoustic guitar is a hi-hat with strings.
right.
It's like,
Love that.
and so having that as a foundation. And with Jimmy, I mean, that was the thing, was that he played rhythm and lead at the same time.
Exactly.
And there's times when he's bending notes and it's like, did he just overshoot or is he playing quarter tones?
Ah,
It's like, because there's so many influences, and that the Cherokee Indian component in his DNA, I think, had an influence in there too. So
interesting.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah, another
he
hybrid.
was. Yeah, it's just such a shame that he passed when he did.
I got to tell you, I mean, I come from that era when he died and Janice died and Jim Morrison.
the
and-
27 Club.
Yes, I was
Yeah,
gonna say. I was happy when I made it past that point a couple of years ago.
Exactly. and all those greats, but I got to say, when he died, it really broke my heart because I just felt like he had so much great music in him, and we all wanted to see where he was going with it, and it's so tragic, But I mean, I put him on the same level as Beethoven, Van Gogh. I mean, just up there in a whole different stratosphere from everybody else in the genre.
Makes you wonder, doesn't it? The Woodstock weekend was the same weekend that Miles did Bitches Brew was
Oh,
recorded.
it's a
that
great
weekend.
record, too.
And
Wow.
he wanted Jimmy on that record.
Really?
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
And there was always discussions going on about the two of them working together, but they never did.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dave Holland played bass on that, right?
Oh yeah.
I think so, yeah. A buddy of mine, he actually played on one of Bonnie's cuts on the second record when we did the record in Woodstock. And I played acoustic guitar, and he played upright bass. Beautiful player.
Yeah, he was a session player in London.
Are they?
Oh yeah. Yeah, back in the day. And then he was playing at Ronnie Scott's club, and Miles came in and just snapped him up.
Well, another one of those guys who could play acoustic, play jazz, could play rock, fusion. I mean, just a consummate musician.
Yeah.
Yeah, excellent.
I loved reading in my biography of Joni Mitchell that I read recently, a beautiful newer biography of her, where there was one evening where she found herself in a hotel room with Jimi Hendrix, and I guess they spent the whole night, just stayed up all night trading back songs back and forth, and they recorded the whole evening, and the tapes were stolen, and they disappeared. I just oh man,
Tragic.
yeah. So that is a perfect segue into the
wow.
song that I
Oh,
would like
wow.
to play.
Oh, wow. You
like what I did
so
there?
Clear. Oh, that was smooth. That was smooth. Oh, my God.
All right, so this is one of my favorite songs of all time. I'm gonna play it on Freebo's guitar, and it's called "A Case of You" by Joni Mitchell, somebody who I also consider to be on the Beethoven spectrum. The Beethoven spectrum.
Beethoven spectrum. I like that.
Just before our love got lost, you said, I am as constant as a northern star. And I said, constantly in the darkness, where's that at? If you want me, I'll be in the bar. On the back of a cartoon coaster, in a blue TV screen light, I drew a map of Canada, oh Canada, with your face sketched on it twice. Oh, but you're in my blood like holy wine. It tastes so bitter and so sweet. Oh, I could drink a case of you, darling, and I would still be on my feet, still be on my feet. I'm a lonely painter. I live in a box of pains. I'm frightened by the devil, and I'm drawn to those ones that ain't afraid. I remember that time you told me, you said, love is touching souls. Surely you touched mine, 'cause part of you pours out of me in these lines from time to time. Oh, but you're in my blood like holy wine. It tastes so bitter and so sweet. Oh, I could drink a case of you, darling, and I would still be on my feet, still be on my feet. I met a woman, she had a mouth like yours. She knew your life, she knew your devils and your deeds, and she said, go to him, stay with him if you can, but be prepared to bleed. Oh, but you're my blood like holy wine, tastes so bitter and so sweet. Oh, I could drink a case of you, darling, and still be on my feet, still be on my feet. Thank you. Bring him back. Ta-da! Thank you.
Great song. Yeah.
Here you go. Take that.
We should tell people about Saturday.
Oh yeah. Yeah, why don't you
show
tell
on
them, Lawrence?
Saturday.
You're the musical director of the thing.
Yeah, unexpectedly a musical director. We're doing a top 50 Beatles countdown that's going to be streaming live from the Coach House in San Juan Capistrano.
Yeah.
And Freebo and Alice are going to be among the featured performers. I'm playing lead guitar in the house band. And it's a big stage, so we get to be kind of socially distanced.
Yes.
And they got remote cameras and stuff. And Chris Carter, Breakfast with the Beatles, Chris Carter is going to be the MC.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
And we're doing, I think, of the top 50, I think we're doing, 25, 30 tunes. I'll do a few solos. But mostly it's the band with various guest artists. And the organization is The Tribe, which is a kind of a musician collective in LA. And that's done in association with Rock Cellar magazine.
Yep.
Exactly.
And it's going to be a cool show. And it's free. I mean, it's,
Yes.
the usual tip jar, but
Right.
people are getting a lot of free music these days.
I know.
They are, and I mean, not to be self-serving, but we hope they appreciate it enough where a few people throw something in a tip jar so we can continue doing this, Lars. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I mean, I think that, this whole thing is in its infancy as far as
Yes.
trying to understand the technology
Yeah.
and the fact that you have everything set up. I have everything set up the way that I normally do for Facebook. StreamYard, which we're going
Right.
through, is different.
I know.
So things that work in one format don't necessarily work in another.
Which
Well,
is why it'll be so nice on Saturday for the Beatles show to have a totally professional streaming setup. That's going to be
Yeah.
great. Yeah. So
Yeah,
just to
absolutely.
reiterate, that's at 6 o'clock on Saturday.
6 o'clock Pacific.
Yeah. And you can find it on Facebook or alerttheglobe.com.
Yeah.
What were you going to say?
Yeah, no, a lot of great singers and musicians, and some of LA's finest.
Yeah. It'd be
yeah.
really fun. Yeah. So I think we've got time for a couple more songs.
Well, and I just want to throw out the thing again about the Rock Cellar magazine for those people, one of our sponsors. That, like I said, I mean, if you just go to Rock Cellar Music or magazine, is it?
RockCellarMagazine.com.
RockCellarMagazine.com. Just go there and subscribe. Like I say,
For
it's
free.
free. It's free, and you get a wonderful magazine daily. And I say it's news of the day, so there's really some interesting stuff comes in, headline stuff, but a lot of behind the scenes of musical, especially some of the well, it's everybody, some of the older and some of the younger, but it's some really cool inside stuff, and like I say, we're offering it for free, and it's really very cool, and we appreciate them helping us on this program. Thank you, Kevin Wax. Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, and thanks to Norm.
And
also.
thank you to Norm.
Absolutely.
We love Norm. Thank you, Norm. Thank you, Jen, being behind the scenes, commenting and answering questions and stuff. Yeah. So I think Freebo's going to do a tune, and then we want you to take us out, Laurence. How does that
Okay,
sound?
You bet.
Okay.
All right, and this tune, Lawrence, and I'm gonna send this out to you and to Norm and to Kevin. I think life is, life's what you make it, right? And I think it's all about choices. At every moment we have a choice, and our choices really are what our lives are about. And some of them are difficult, and some of them are simple, but the choices determine who we are, and ultimately, by the time our life is over, what our life was all about. And I was thinking about that whole concept at a funeral of a friend some years ago, and this song came to me, and I'd like to share it with you and the listeners. It's called Standing Ovation. And let me put my partial capo on, make sure I'm in tune.
Oh, did I steal it?
Talk to the people.
Oh, hey people. Thanks for watching today. Thanks for bearing with us, Laurence, as we figured out our technical stuff. And I hope you guys will tune in next week. We've got Albert Lee is going to be our guest next
right.
week.
Great
One of
Albert
my
Lee.
favorites.
Yep, we can't wait, and that'll be great. So same time next week, Wednesday, 5 p.m. We've got some other great artists coming up the weeks after that. So we hope you'll watch. And you ready?
Well, in fact, I'm going to say with Albert, we will be in the same room as we were hoping to do
Fingers
with Lawrence, and I'm really kind of sad about that we didn't get your beautiful artistry on our tunes, but this was pretty cool.
We'll have to try again
the whole
sometime.
thing. So we're going to do that with Albert. We'll be in the same thing, and Albert and I go way back. Gosh, I think we met in 1974. But one of the world's great guitar players. If you don't know, I'm sure most of the Norris people know, but he played for years with Eric Clapton. Often Eric called him the best
Emmylou
guitar player in
Harris,
the band.
Yeah.
I couldn't hear what he said.
Emmylou Harris.
Oh, and
Emmylou
Emmylou
Harris,
Harris and the Everly Brothers and some great records of his own.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
Yeah. Cool. All right, here we go.
Standing Ovation. If life is a comedy, the part that we play is never as clear as it could be. Or maybe a drama, who is to say? But it always turns out as it should be. And if I am a player who's played his part well and did it with humor and grace, when I die, give me a standing ovation, a celebration for a job well done. No need to cry,
Don't you
it's not my final destination. I'll be at the station when the train comes by. You write your own story as the pages unfold, but you're never quite sure of the ending. Maybe it's destiny, maybe it's choice, maybe we're all just pretending. In the tale of a lifetime, if it all comes around and you only receive what you're sending. But when I die, give me a standing ovation, a celebration for a job well done. No need to cry, it's not my final destination. I'll be at the station when the train comes by. Some have it easy, some have it all. Some work so hard for so little. We sink to the bottom and we rise to the top, but mostly wind up in the middle. The more we are different, the more we're the same. I'm just one more who's worked through the riddle. And when I die, give me a standing ovation, a celebration for a job well done. No need to cry, it's not my final destination. I'll be at the station when the train comes by. When I die, give me a standing ovation, a celebration for a job well done. No need to cry, it's not my final destination. I'll be at the station when the train comes by. Yes, I will. Oh, yes, I will.
Hey, Laurence.
Hey.
Thank you, man.
It's been such a pleasure having you on. Thank you so much for being here
Well,
with us.
Thanks
Oh,
for
it's a
having
pleasure,
me.
man, and nice to get a little bit inside the life and
The mind.
and legend, the mind of Laurence Juber and the music as well.
When I grow up, I want to be a legend.
You're on your way, you know.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
know.
the legend thing is
I
you
know.
gotta be careful. You know, it's like
I tease Freebo
Yeah.
about that.
But you know what? I mean, every once in a while, you know, Lawrence, people do come and refer to me as a legend, and I kind of think to myself, how the hell did that happen? You know, I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
you
Yeah.
just go about and I mean,
One
I'm
day at a
fine with
time.
it. Yeah, one day at a time is the answer. But I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
If somebody thinks that, that's great. But you know, it don't mean nothing.
You're a
you
real
know? I mean,
person too.
well,
at the end of the
trying to
day,
be.
we just make music and take care of business. You know?
Exactly.
That's the
exactly.
business
and
is
like
part
I
of it.
said, the same trials and tribulations and emotions as everybody else.
That's right.
But I'll look forward to seeing you on Saturday at the
Yes.
Us too.
at the Tribe Show.
At the
I
Tribe
mean,
Show
I tell you
Saturday
what,
evening.
the songs we worked out for Alice, Here, There, and Everywhere, and In My Life. I mean, just
I'm loving
beautiful
singing
what
them.
you're playing on guitar and Alice singing. I
Thanks,
get to
yeah.
play
Can't wait.
the fretless bass,
Yeah,
and
that'll
we're really
be fun.
excited about that.
Yeah. All
All
right.
let me give you.
What do you
I'll
got
give you
for
a,
us?
a taste of Beatles that I'm not going to play on Saturday. We're
Okay.
actually doing a different version of this, but
Great.
because I saw her standing there.
Oh.
Woo!
Man. Man.
perfect preview.
I have a hard
Love
enough
that.
time playing one part, let alone both parts.
And that's a
great.
Chuck,
like you-
that's a Chuck Berry bass line too.
Yeah.
I was gonna
forget
say
the
you
song
got the
it
bass
came
player
from.
in there too.
Yeah.
Amazing. Oh, Laurence, can I have a guitar lesson sometime?
You bet.
Okay, I could use that.
Hey, Laurence, once again, thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for being our first guest, and
Yeah.
Well,
know,
thank you
we're-
for having me.
We're thrilled.
Pleasure to
and-
be here.
Thank you,
absolutely.
Norman's
And-
Rare Guitars. Thanks.
Thank you, Norm. Thank you, Jen.
Yeah.
And thank you, all y'all, for tuning in. We really
Yeah.
appreciate it. And you
Thanks.
might tell your friends. Obviously, this is archived on Norm's YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And on Facebook. So for anybody who missed it, can go watch it again. Tell folks. And
Yeah.
we really do really do appreciate your donations.
thank you.
They really mean a lot. We're very grateful. Thank you so
And we'll
much.
see you next week, next Wednesday at 5, live
Albert
at
Lee.
5 for Albert Lee. Thank you, Lawrence.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
See you.